Okay. Thank
So
you.
I rise to speak on the certain troubling aspects of how the government is handling the economic crisis. Its misplaced priorities, the deadlock on GST compensation issue, and flippant attitude towards the citizens of India, especially the middle class. So before I begin my speech, I would like to share a quote from the great Tirukkural. Anbilar ellam tamakuriyar, anbudiyar endum oriyar pirarku. Sir, it means those who do not have love appropriate all to themselves. But those who possess love consider even their bones to belong to others. So we find ourselves in the midst of the worst financial crisis the nation has witnessed in the last 40 years. I understand this is a global pandemic, and we are not the only ones trapped in the economic commerce. But let us be clear about one thing. We have been the worst affected among the large economies. Much has been said, but little can be done to help the central government out of its complacency at this point. The government keeps calling this as an act of God. It is this very attitude that is the problem. Statements such as this will not help revive the sentiments of economy. It will only reduce the global investors' confidence and look like a sign of the central government's fatigued desperation to the common man who is looking towards the government for some sign of hope and relief. At the same time, sir, I also register my protest against how the term act of God has been used to make the distinction of the issue of GST compensation to the states. The centre's decision to split the GST compensation in two separate categories, revenue loss as a result of GST implementation and revenue loss as a result of an act of God, will betray both the spirit and letter of the GST Compensation Act. The GST Compensations to States Act guarantees all state an annual growth of 14% in the GST revenues during the period July 2017 to July 2022. If a state GST revenue grows slower than 14%, such a loss of revenue must be taken care of by the centre by providing GST compensation grants to the state. When the UPA government planned the GST system, it was to ensure a seamless market, free of tax terrorism, and could help us realize the full potential of the Indian market. But we all know how the GST was introduced. Sir, in 2017, we had a man-made pandemic called the demonetization, which was single-handedly brought by our Honorable Prime Minister. And to compensate to save the faces, GST was hurriedly introduced in December to cover up the man-made disaster. We have today its complicated maze of compliance and tax extortion that is leaving both the industry and the states with little ability to plan and implement growth strategies. When the BJP's version of GST was implemented in 2017, the principle of indirect taxation for many goods and services changed from origin-based to destination-based. This meant the ability to tax goods and services and raise revenues shifted from the origin states where the good or service was being produced to the destination state there it is consumed. So this change came with the risk of revenue uncertainty from many states like Tamil Nadu. But your slave government in Tamil Nadu simply agreed and went along with your commands. Luckily, the Compensation Act was made to compensate states for 5 years to avoid any revenue loss due to GST. You are now diluting even this promise with your act of God excuse. As of date, 12,250.50 crores is due to Tamil Nadu as compensation from the shortfall in GST collection, of which 11,459.37 crores has occurred from April to July 2020. This money belongs to the state government and the citizen of Tamil Nadu. Need it if they are to plan any form of compensation or stimulus to revive the state's gloomy economic landscape. At a time like this, during the pandemic, the state need even more spending power. Not only are you giving us the due amount, you are unjustly trapping the state in financial legals. By delaying the funds due to us, you are weakening the state's autonomy and ability to handle the fallout of the pandemic. All states have made heavy investment and spent their maximum capacity to handle the pandemic. how can the center now expect the states to carry out the additional burden of borrowing instead of what is due to us? The center's decision to go for the borrowing route to compensate for the state GST revenue shortfall and the options provided to the states has been seen as nothing short of deception by so many chief ministers and state finance ministers, and it is hard to see its way. We don't see any green shoots at this point of time. After all, as per the constitutional provision, the center is accountable for providing GST compensation. If the center makes the state borrow loans for this purpose, then the financial burden will ultimately fall on the states receiving the cess of GST compensation by the center, and repaying the loan by the state through it will be a complex and uncertain process. The states are being served a raw deal yet again. The intent of central government is worrisome. You're reducing the state's federal autonomy by crippling us financially, forcing states to come back to the center with a begging bowl every time a rightful share of fund is due. The DMK has been pointing out that the economy's response on the central government's relief package and the policy response to the coronavirus pandemic has been lukewarm at the best. It is important to note that things were pretty bad even before the pandemic. The Economic Times, in an alarming article dated 16th December 2019, pointed out that the Indian economy grew only 4.5% in the second quarter of the year, making it the sixth successive quarter when the country's gross domestic product had shrunk. And then the pandemic happened, making it not just the longest spell in over 2 decades, but also a sign of warning about the onset of the deepest recession we have since 1996. It is no surprise then to see why the economy has collapsed under the weight of the pandemic and lockdowns. We have such structural faults that need major overhaul and reforms. This government enjoys a brute majority and has the ability to pass bill with ease, yet it has not taken up the economic reforms in the last 6 years, going to show that they care little for it as long as they can continue winning elections after elections with the ultra-nationalist rhetoric and handout style of populism, liquidating one PSU after the other to finance the misguided policies. The inability of the government to accept criticism from the opposition has proven expensive. Members of this House have been pointing out this danger from as early as the first session of this House in 2019. Even during the budget session, several attempts were made to alert the government about the impending financial crisis, but the government chose to silence the opposition and stay in denial mode. Now, the government's data shows that Indian economy has contracted to a record low of 23.9% in the June quarter. These numbers can only get worse when the estimates of damage in the informal sector come in. But after the alarming attitude of the government, where they had oddly declared that they do not have data on the migrant exodus and loss of life, I have little faith left. Turning a blind eye to the hard data will not make the problem go away. I urge the government, especially the finance minister, to release a white paper on the economic crisis and to adopt a consultative approach with the opposition parties, the state government, and the industry representative to boost the confidence in our economy. It's imperative for us to analyze where we stand if the economy must be revived. All 4 major drivers of the GDP, government expenditure, consumption, investment, and net exports, are the doldrums. Not even one of the indicators is showing any positive. You are only able to see green shoots, not us. In an economy like ours, household consumption is a major driver, the engine that accounts for almost 60% of India's GDP. This is majorly dependent on the ability of the nation's middle-class consumers to spend. And yet, yes, sir, I have 15 minutes, sir.
Allocated time is only 10 minutes.
Year after year. I'm the only speaker, sir.
Yeah, please conclude.
Yeah, please, sir. It's a few points, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Year after year, budget after budget, and now relief package installments after relief package installment. It is the middle class that is always left out with nothing to gain. Even now, when we are desperate, desperate for the economy to jumpstart and growth to resume, that too, when 3 major components, export, private investment, and government spending remain unsure and shaky, consumption will be the only driver that can take us forward. You may say foreign direct investments are flowing, and India acquired the maximum foreign direct investment during the coronavirus time. Sir, So what to do, sir? Foreign direct investments only come through the gateway of India in Mumbai. Only the Reliance get it because their brand ambassador was the Prime Minister of India for Jio. And no other company is able to are getting any foreign direct investments. The coronavirus pandemic and lockdown have hurt the middle class the most. The families are digging into their savings and bracing for layoffs, salary cuts, and deferred salaries as industry's contract, exercising extreme discretion on all expenditure. All non-essential expenditure has come to a near standstill, with the disposable component of the income of the middle class dwindling. How then will they see an uptick in their domestic consumption that can revive the economy? The middle class has only got 6 years of lip service by this BJP government, and very little has been done to help the middle class. The people who bear a massive chunk of the tax burden, the middle class citizen, have always been ignored and unjustly treated by this government. Yet once again, when the economy is in doldrums, we find the burden to revive it has fallen on the common man. But what have you done for the common man, the middle class citizen, in your relief package? How are you putting money in the hands of the families? These expensive corporate loan write-offs and restructuring options from the ministry can do little to revive the economy if you do not offer serious relief to the common man and help him spend more and consume.
Yes.
The Prime Minister likes to two more points, sir. So the Prime Minister likes to praise the middle class in speech, showering praises that the middle class lives with dignity. The middle class is the strata of the society which contributes the most when it comes to running the country and never rely on someone else's mercy. Honorable Finance Minister also credited the country's middle class for keeping the country going by paying taxes diligently, timely and honestly. So how are you rewarding the middle class? What relief has your 20 lakh crores stimulus package given the middle class? And from where did you allocate? Where did you? You have to give us proof how we got 20 lakh crores from the budget. Loan moratorium, extra time to pay credit bills. How does this help anyone in the long term? CMI data shows that poorly planned lockdown has led to a loss of nearly 20 million salaried jobs. So these are not CEOs and CFOs who lost their jobs. These are the hard-working middle-class blue-collar Indians around the country who are falling back in the cracks of poverty. No. Even the central bank's rate action in the last year being bad for the middle class. The fixed deposit, the main component of Indian household planning, is yielding much lesser returns due to the rate cuts, impacting middle class ability to purchase better. So just 2 points.
Now come to the conclusion. Please.
Sir, I would like to say, sir, when you should try to jumpstart the economy, you have taken the MP lakhs. Nearly 9,000 crores out of 750 MPs have taken for 2.5 years. Is it like when the Rome was burning, Nero was playing the fiddle? So I'm just concluding. This MP lakhs money, 9,000 crores, is the money for the people to uplift their life, to build Anganwadis, to build toilets, sir, but you are building palatial houses for the Prime Minister and for the Parliament. Won't the people laugh at us? And you still, ministers, have not cut down on austerity measures. You are traveling by special flights, and not even trying to save money. So, if I consider, one minute. Say, if this is how we are going to go, so let me tell you, sir, you will lose the middle class. You, in the first 6 months of your government coming to government, you started losing your allies. So Shiv Sena left you. Now the other party has now resigned from your thing. You will lose the trust of the people. It's time for the change. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sri Saugat Rai ji. Before that, 1 second.
I speak on the...
1 second, Saugat Rai ji. 1 second.